Hey guys, so I know it's been a while since I've posted any new videos. Kind of been having an interesting first couple months of the year. As some of you might be aware, I had the gastric sleeve surgery done on January 25th. I've lost since the surgery roughly around 45, 50 pounds. That has been a big adjustment, a good one. Another big thing that has happened in my life is I found my dad. Yeah, it's an interesting story. So growing up, I've always been told that man A was my dad, but he wanted nothing to do with me. So probably since I was like 17, I've been looking for this man, you know, find out who I am, where I come from, why he wanted nothing to do with me, all the basic questions. Never got anywhere. I kind of gave up my search, and every once in a while, I'd pick it up, see if any new information online could be found, and I'd always hit the same wall. Don't know what this man looks like, only know his name and roughly his age. One day I decided to ask one of my mom's oldest friends. They were friends from, gosh, what, since they were like 17, 18. So about the time that I was conceived, they were really good friends. They were besties. They were tight. So I asked her, I reached out to her. I was like, hey, I'm trying to find my dad. I don't know what he looks like. Can you give me any information about him? And she's like, well, let me get a hold of your mom. Let me make sure, it's okay with her, because I don't want to step on anyone's toes, stuff like that. So I was like, okay, cool, I get it. Probably about 2 weeks passed. I send her another message. I'm like, hey, so do you have any information you can give me? And she's like, well, your mom never responded to me, so you know what? I'm just gonna give you what I'm gonna tell you what I know and what I feel. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, I don't feel that man A is your father. And I was like, all right. So what does that mean? And she's like, well, I think it is another gentleman, man B. They had a fling when she wasn't with man A, and it was short-lived. He was a great guy. He treated her with a ton of respect. Actually wanted to pursue a relationship, but unfortunately she didn't. And I guess when man A came back around into the picture, she left man B and went back to him. She's like, I don't know his name. I know his nickname from what he went by back in the day. And she was like, it's either Tres or it's Trace. She's like, I'm not sure, but he was the third of something. And he didn't like his first name or something along those lines, but he was something the third. And I was like, okay. So, I tried to do some research, jumped online, looked through all, the USC yearbooks from back in the day, found a couple guys who were, a third. None of them were him. So, couldn't make any leeway because I had even less information about this new man than I did about man A. So we decided the best route for me to take was to submit my DNA to Ancestry.com. I submitted it, waited what seemed like forever, but in reality it was like maybe 3-4 months. I got a hit that I was related to this this gentleman, and we were, you know, close family to first cousins. And then they broke it down by example. You know, you can be each other's cousins, you could be niece and nephew, you can be grandparent and grandchild. And so I decided to look this gentleman up on Facebook. And while scrolling through his Facebook, came across his friends, and lo and behold, there was someone that went by Trace on there. And so, you know, I'm like, no, can't be, whatever. So I clicked the guy's picture, and you know, I'm looking at what I could see was available, which was limited. So I decided to Google him and Google him by his name, which I did, and you know, a lot of things were matching up. So I reached out to this guy, and I was like, hey, sent him an old picture of my mom, and was like, this is my mom, you know, I think you guys saw each other for a hot minute back in the day, and I am what came of it. It was really sweet. You know, he's like, you know, I'm not really sure, but okay, cool. Like, he was really accepting, and it was just like, I couldn't believe it. I thought, you know, like, nah, it's too good to be true. And you know, we traded a couple messages back and forth via Facebook, and then we traded phone numbers, and later that evening we talked on the phone for the first time, and kind of traded stories of, you know, what I was told and what he remembered, since, you know, it was a hot minute, like almost 30 years ago, and everything just kind of added up. We've been keeping in contact, you know, via text message. It's been really awesome, but really weird in the same sense, just because it's always been, oh, who's your dad? I don't know. I've never met the guy. To where now it's like, I'm on Facebook scrolling through, and he's popping up with one of his posts, and it's just like, holy shit, like, that's my dad. I know a lot of you probably can't relate because you were lucky enough to have two parents in your life, or at least know who, you know, your parents were. It's a lot to get used to be like, oh, hey, I know who my dad is, or just referring to him as dad. Because growing up, you know, my mom would have, you know, boyfriends or her husband, and I never felt comfortable, like, calling any of them dad. Any of them. I always called them by their first name. After talking with my husband, it just feels right. I don't know if it's because I know he's my father. Like, when I'm texting him, and my husband would be like, oh, hey, who are you talking to? And it's just like, oh, you know, my dad. Instead of calling him by his first name, which I normally would for any other guy. But I don't know. I'm not making any sense at the moment. I'm still trying to digest everything, because it's a lot to take in. I mean, from what I can tell, he's a really awesome guy. Genuinely wants to know who I am and who my husband and son are. My husband's happy that I finally have found who is my father, you know, where I come from, you know, learning that you're not Armenian after 29 years of always marking that box, or, you know, your last name being Nazarian is, hey, guess what? It should have never been Nazarian, because you have no Middle Eastern or dark traits. Like, you burn in the sun and turn into a lobster, you blonde hair, blue eyes. Instead of making this, you know, a long video, you know, I'll just end it here, but that's kind of my life update. We plan on making more videos again and getting back into this now that our lives have kind of calmed down a bit and not having surgeries and stuff like that. Thanks guys for listening. I'll see you soon. All right, bye.